Yo, what's going on? Sunny from szg.sports. And Mohammed, thank you for coming in. I will say the reason why I haven't done phone calls is because my internet is a piece of crap. But that's going to be changing in the near future. I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks I'm moving to a place that I told them. I think I told the story the other day. I said like, yo, what internet you have? And they were like, I think this service will give me like 500 or 600 megs. I'm like, yes, I need that. And they're like, are you sure you need? I need that. Like, do you really? No, I don't care if I need it. I might need 100. I don't care. Give me the 6. Give me the 600 because this internet's BS. But today, hopefully it behaves. We have special guests. And shout out to everybody that is here, guys. Again, I apologize that I haven't been streaming as much or uploading as much. I said the other day I was trying to upload a video and it said that it was gonna take 26 hours to upload, and I was like, nah. This is why, right? So I apologize for that, but shout out to Mohammed, Gamer God, J Will, The Trid, Mary. Thank you for everything. Okay, so let me just, without further ado, let me introduce two guys here. They have their podcast. Go check them out. I will put their links later in the description below, or the guys can put it also in the comments. Have Jose and Botany. Shout out to you guys. How are you doing?
What's going on, Sunny? Thank you for bringing us on. Hey, yeah, Sunny has supported us from day one, man. Like from the first time I told him we were thinking about doing a podcast, he's been there to give us advice and just support. So really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, no problem. And to be honest, this is what we all need to do: support each other. Hey, we learn from each other. We grow with each other. That doesn't mean, guys, as you will see in this conversation, we may not agree on everything. We may not agree on nothing, but it doesn't matter because you're here for honest and conversation. Like I always tell you guys, and I'm not trying to diss the major networks, but at least in this channel, and I know most of my Ravens colleagues channel and in the AFCNorth channel, we don't script none of this. What you're gonna see here, we didn't practice, we didn't script, we flow through the podcast, through the live show. We take question, all unscripted. What you're getting is completely our honest opinion. Might be hot takes, we might be wrong, but it's completely honest. So let's get it started. Let's talk about the Ravens Steelers for a moment, right? Ravens Steelers. That was a very frustrating game if you're a Ravens fan. That is a game that if Lamar Jackson throws one less interception in theory, you win the game, right? I was talking yesterday in the AFCNorth talk. He should have had 3 picks, right? He should have had 3 picks. That ball and Hayden. And people were like, "Oh, Boykins, no. Boykins is running a slant route in full speed. That ball's behind him, so behind his momentum. What do you want him to do? He tried to stop. He can't do anything at that point. He extended his hands. He just couldn't do anything. So, but that wasn't a pick. The 2 picks, they were bad. The first pick 6, that was just, it was just a throw to the guy. I couldn't make that pick. The second one, Highsmith made a good read, but also Lamar. He has to recover in the flat. He threw it there. He threw it. He was getting greedy. He wanted Mark. And it was about to throw 2 picks. The fumble, I would say that fumble, although I think he should have thrown that ball quicker or earlier, that was a great play by Dupree. So I can live with that. I can live with that. But the 2 picks for me were bad. Look, I tweeted this. We were in the game because of Lamar running ability. We were able to just run down the throat. But we also lost that game because of Lamar, because defense came to play. Even without Judon, defense came to play. And to be fair of my O-line, which I'm very critical of my O-line, for losing Stanley and Phillips, so 2 starters, they weren't that bad. But I want to know your take, Jose. You can start, man.
Well, so me and B, we have a slightly different take. Yes, no doubt, Lamar played awful, and he has to do better, right? Regardless of whether the O-line's holding up or, wide receivers let him down. I don't think that's necessarily the case. He just has to play better, right? But the defense is where we put all of our resources in. And they didn't play bad, but not bad isn't good enough for this defense, right? And they gave up 3 touchdowns. I know Lamar put them in bad spots sometimes, but for what we're expecting of this defense, if we're going to expect this defense to anchor this team, they can't give up touchdowns. I mean, that touchdown they gave up to Eric Ebron, he walked right into the end zone, right?
That was the miscommunication. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then he gave up, they gave up 2 more, 77 and 80-yard touchdown drives. Like, if they hold them to field goal on at least one of those drives, it's a different game, So, yes, Lamar has to take a lot of the blame because he's the leader of this team. He's the current MVP. But from the organizational standpoint, we put a lot of resources, money, high draft picks into the defense. We expect them to play better than that.
Okay. B.
Well, yeah, like Jose was saying, pick 6 on the first drive, awful. But the rest of that half, the defense, shut out Pittsburgh. The offense put up 17 points. You go into the second half with a 10-point lead, right? He throws that second interception. Again, awful. But now you're on the 21-yard line. You can't let them walk into the end zone at that point, right? Yeah. Okay, but they gave up the touchdown, 17-14 now. Then is where, that's where we have the problem after that. You give up a 77-yard touchdown drive. Offense comes back, scores, puts you back in the lead, and then you get an 80-yard touchdown drive after that. And they couldn't answer, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that, yes, obviously if they don't turn the ball over 4 times, they win that game. But the question here is, on an offense where you've put so little resources, right? You focus so much on the defense. Why would you expect a clean game from that side of the ball? You're talking about a team that has a bad O-line even before the injuries, right? Yeah. Before they lose Stanley and Phillips, you're not a very good O-line. A team that doesn't have much talent on the outside, a wide receiver. They traded Hayden Hurst, didn't replace him, right? So it's not a very threatening offense. And you've got one of the best defenses in the league coming in. Yeah. So you kind of have to expect that they're going to play poorly if you're not going to put more resources into that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me do a couple of things here. Well, before that, we have a super chat from my boy, The Trib. He says, second pick was a lot more on the tight end. The Boykins pick wasn't Lamar, though. The first pick was a misread by Lamar. He tried to look off the linebackers.
I put all the picks on Lamar because I know what he's talking about on the second pick. Coach broke down the tape yesterday. Coach Evans, Andrews ran a shallow route. He should have been a little bit further out, but Lamar still threw the pick. You can't throw the pass, right? So I
agree. I mean, it was he misread the defense, right? He didn't see the linebacker leaking out. The linebacker was just reading Lamar's eyes, right? Okay, So going back to the other point, look, the defense for me played great. There was 2 drives that they played poorly, and if you go back to those two drives, and I haven't watched the all 22 tape, but they essentially said, "Where is Bond? Where is Bond? And we're gonna throw to Bond." Yeah. So the problem is this defense, yes, resources are there and all that, but also injuries are piling up, right? So now, corner-wise, they went against our guy that we just came out of the practice spot. That's the guy. And they kept shifting different guys on Bond, and they kept going there. This offense, and if you compare this offense personnel-wise to last year's offense, pre-Stanley going down and all that, it's not that much difference. Yes, we lost Hayden Hurst. But in theory, we gained Duvernay, right? So you gain more speed. I think the problem here is the personnel that they're putting around Lamar. It's not necessarily to fit that Lamar needs. Now, you follow me. I call for Duvernay. I almost did laps. I think I called that pick like 20 picks before. I'm like, it's gonna be Duvernay. It's gonna be Duvernay, and then boom, it happened, right? So I was excited, and I think Duvernay is a great pick for this team. But the reality is, what Lamar does, he likes to throw to the middle of the field, right? That's what he wants, middle of the field. He needs to figure out how to push outside. But how this offense drives, how this offense functions, how this offense gets going is running the ball. And we have gone away from that. And in this game, as soon as Stanley went out, the offense said, okay, we need to change. We need to just run, right? I have not seen the Ravens run the ball this effective since last year. Yeah. And they didn't start like that. It went more when Stanley went down. So they went and pounded. By the end of the first half, we were 154 yards rushing. Third quarter, and now this is where people are like, 0. Yes, we for some reason tend to pass more. And we did pass more in that third quarter. But again, look, I did a live stream. I think you guys were in it on IG. And somebody said like, oh, this first drive of the third quarter will tell us a lot, right? If Pittsburgh comes down to score a touchdown, it's going to be tight. So what happens in that first drive? The Ravens defense makes the stop. What happens on the other side? 3 or 4 plays later, pick. And they're in the 21-yard line. What happens when the offense gets the ball again? 3 and out, right? So, yeah, the defense might have gave on 2 long drives, but the defense throughout this game ball out. At the end, Lamar played better, or the offense played better. I would say, in my opinion, how this game is almost a segment. The first quarter, a very bad first quarter between a pick six, losing Stanley, losing Phillips, Judon gets thrown out. But it's 7-7. Yeah, and it's 7-7, right? So with all of that 7-7, you're like, oh man. Second quarter, great. Pound the ball, defense balling out, pounding the ball. Third quarter, awful. That's where, in my opinion, that's where you lost the game. We shift momentum in that pick, right? The Steelers said, like, the only way we're going to break this defense is we go no huddle. They can't change personnel. Bond is on the field. Throw to that guy. Boom, 77 yards, touchdown, right? And after that, the fourth quarter, the Ravens offense went back and played better. But still, they came out short. Look, I think there's a lot of good things that you can say from this game. The team battle. The team did battle. And if they clean some of that turnover up, I mean, it would have been another score. B.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that you're saying there in terms of how it went down, right?
Yeah.
The problem where I'm coming from is when you don't provide the weapons and you don't provide the protection, you can't expect more than that from the offense, is what I'm saying. Because like if this offseason they went out and they got 2 guards and a center, so they have best O-line in the league, then you take that first round pick and you trade it for DeAndre Hopkins, right? And then you maybe later on you take another receiver or trade for another receiver or something like that. Nobody would be okay with them coming back and scoring 21 points against Pittsburgh because you have all this talent on offense, right? And you're relying on that offense to win you games every week. So they did the opposite. They said, hey, we're putting everything into defense this offseason. The offense got worse, right? Because the O-line is significantly worse than it was last year. And you lost Hayden Hurst. I know, like I said, they brought in Duvernay, but, it's a different position, so it's a different dynamic, right?
Fair.
Yeah. So now you can't look at the defense and say, hey, it's okay that you give up 2 75-plus yard touchdown drives in the second half when we had a lead.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're going defense first and you want defense to win you games, they have to step up and make those stops at that point in the game.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like if they get at least if one of those touchdown drives is converted to a field goal, that completely changes the outcome of the game as well. Right. So again, we're not absolving Lamar Jackson by any means. Like he has to play better than that. 4 turnovers just ain't going to cut it. But the defense has to. I mean, you give up 3 touchdowns, you can't do it. Get some stops.
So the biggest loss for the offense last year, this was the number 1 offense last year, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the biggest loss you will say from the offense was what?
Yanda.
I agree. And what did they do? They drafted 2 guards, plus they brought Fluker, plus they have Ben Powers from last year.
But the problem is none of them are very good. Tyree Phillips, I think he'll be good. Right now today.
They put the resources, right? My point is they knew that was my weak spot, or that's the spot where I'm gonna be the weakest because from last year to this year, that's the guy that there's no replacing a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, okay, so this could bring all these guys to compete for the one spot. One spot, and Tyreek Phillips, for my surprise, won the. I thought Fluker was gonna take it, but it was Tyreek Phillips.
Me too.
So they brought players there. Hayden Hurst, I don't know if you guys were in the Ravens chat group before that. I used to say to the guys, like, I don't want them to trade Hayden Hurst. I was not big on that. But Hayden Hurst, on the grand scheme of things, it wasn't like he was putting numbers, right?
No.
And that's why Hayden Hurst wanted to get traded. And they were comfortable with saying, well, if we need to go 3 tight ends, let's put Ricard. I don't think that was great, but whatever. That's not a big of a loss that it is Yanda. Yanda didn't matter what, because there's nothing in the free agent that you're like, oh, you should have gotten that guy, and that guy would have been better. So what they did was, okay, but let's just bring a bunch of guys to compete. Let's put some draft cap. Because I was like, damn, another guard? How many guards are we going to draft? Right? And then we drafted Ben Powers the year before to learn from Yanda. Plus we have Makari that played guard and center the year before. So they're supposed to be guys to be replacing the position. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is they were the number 1 offense last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They should not be this much worse from last year because they lost the guard. And I agree with you guys. They didn't put a lot of resources, but they basically say, what ain't broke, they'll fix it. Now, my problem is earlier this year with the personnel, they changed how they were calling plays. And then what I'm thinking, and I want to hear your guys' thought, is what it looks to me is they want to not force. Lamar wants to do this too. Want Lamar to be more of a pocket passer. Well, that is great, but you need 2 things to be a pocket passer. You need to be accurate. Lamar has not been accurate this year. But second, you need a better O-line. And this is where I agree with you guys. I don't think the O-line is that much worse than last year. I just think we're trying to pass more from the pocket than last year. So the O-line is getting exposed that last year it wasn't. And before you guys answer, let me go get here the super chat. Jay Real, thank you for the donation. I didn't understand why they started the 3rd quarter throwing the ball. The Steelers already showed they couldn't stop the run. Why stop? So for me, to be honest, I don't have that much problem for them to start throwing the ball. But as soon as that pick happened, they should have been like, let's run down their throat. So I agree with you. I'm not saying that Lamar should never throw. I think that he should. I just want the offense to look more like last year than this year. But hey, what are you guys' thoughts?
So the number 1 reason why we were the number 1 offense last year was because of our run game. We had a historically great run game, and that was we were never going to be able to duplicate that, right? Mm-hmm. Especially after losing Yanda. It doesn't matter if you bring in 10 offensive linemen, right? They're not going to be as good as Yanda. And also Matt Skura getting hurt also, hurts the interior O-line. So there's always going to be a downgrade in the run game. And we didn't pass the ball that much. So the offense as a whole was going to take a step back if you didn't add weapons, And, as far as Lamar not being, that accurate, I think he is very accurate. He's coached as if he's not accurate enough, as if he can't be a pocket passer. And you don't need to necessarily make him a pocket passer. He can roll out of pockets or whatever, but he's an excellent thrower. He led the league in touchdown passes last year. We just try to hide him for whatever reason. He can be that dual threat if we let him become that. The problem is we have Greg Roman, and Greg Roman's never been good in the pass game. He's a what would you call it? A
run game coordinator.
Run game coordinator. He's a run game coordinator. He's not a complete offensive coordinator, and we're starting to find that out. And other teams are finding that out as well. We're forcing, they're forcing us to pass the ball. So that's what we get.
Yeah, just to your point about last year's offense and being the number 1 offense in the league. Again, I always reference Carolina whenever we talk about the Ravens offense. It reminds me a lot of the year that Carolina went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl. They were the number 1 offense in the league that year. Cam tore the league up, won MVP. They got to the Super Bowl and got beat. That offense, they put up all those points, but they didn't have talent. And it's the same thing with Baltimore right now. That year, Cam was throwing to Ted Ginn and Jericho Cotchery and like a rookie Devin Funchess, right?
Yeah.
And he played out of his mind, put up, great numbers, tons of points. They won they won 15 games. And the Panthers the next year in the draft said, we're good on offense. Kelvin Benjamin's coming back off a torn ACL. So we're good. We'll take an off-ball linebacker. And then they took a huge step back on offense because they just don't have the talent there. And I look at the Ravens offense and I'm seeing that too. I like Hollywood. I think he's a good player. Mark Andrews is a good player. They're not great players, right?
Yeah.
Miles Boykin giving next to nothing. I want to see a lot more Devin Duvernay to see what he has also. But there aren't any proven players on that Ravens offense outside of the running back position. And I think that's really the problem there. You saw a player in Lamar who had a historically great season, one of the best seasons that anyone has ever had in the NFL. And I think they kind of just said, let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. I don't think Lamar is inaccurate. I just think he has been inaccurate. There's two. I don't think he is an inaccurate quarterback. I just think this year he has been inaccurate. There's a lot of passes there. You're like, the dude was wide open. And I think if it almost feels, to be honest, that he's having problems gripping the ball. If anything, that's what it feels, because the balls are not getting there. So I feel like it's either the grip, there's something there. Okay.
I think it's a rhythm thing too, right? You never let him get into rhythm. If he has a bad pass, we don't run the play back. It goes back to let's run the ball, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
right?
But that's what we do better, though. That is what we do better.
Yeah.
And to the point here, so it says here, the super chat. Thank you for CRO. And I think Graham is more scared of our O-line than Lamar, and that could be true because before we started, one of the things I said was with a bad O-line, you run the ball because usually that's what the O-line thrives. Even with bad O-lines, it's easier to block moving forward. They're just trying to hold this man, trying to impose himself. It's not natural for somebody to arch his back and block. It's difficult. That's why they get paid a bunch of millions of dollars if they're good. So, and the running scheme is a little bit easier. Pulling as a guard is not the easiest thing, but when you're pushing forward, it's easier than when you're pushing back. That's why with a bad O-line, you run the ball. Look, the Steelers knew what we were going to do. Especially after the after that second quarter, they're still running the ball. And credit to Giro. What happened when the Steelers start to do? They have started to put not only 8 people in the box, they started putting in the middle because we were just running through the middle. And what did Giro said? Like, you're gonna do that shit. We're gonna just run in the stretch. We're gonna run the option on the stretch, which always scare me because I see that ball floating out of the quarterback's hand, and I'm just waiting for the running back not to catch it and it's a fumble, right? So, but credit to them, they did that, and the Steelers said, "Shit, we can put all these people in the middle now." So they started to spread them out, run through the middle. I just think that for this offense right now, and it is because we don't have talent in the skill position. You can argue that. I'm not disagreeing with that argument because I've been saying that we need that receiver that's a 50-50 guy. And the draft coverage, I was probably one of the few that wasn't super excited about J.K. Dobbins. Not because J.K. Dobbins is not a great player. It's because that's not the guy that we needed.
Right.
We needed Mims. A guy like Mims, 6'4", guy that can take and high point the ball. Now, I will say this, and a lot of you guys have said this before, Boykins needs to change to a tight end. Boykins is better. He's physical. Something that if somebody has said it for the podcasters, I apologize. But this dude on the running attack was manhandling on the blocking side down the field. Like if he was, so that's what I need for. I think he should be calling Waller and say, Waller, tell me how you move to tight end, because Waller's not as good as a blocker than Boykins is, and they were about the same as a catching. Waller needed some growth to get to where he is now. I think Boykins needs to move to the inside, and we need that guy that is a 50-50 guy. Would it be Des Bryant? I don't know. To be honest, I don't have a lot of stock in that. Can he help? Maybe in the red zone, maybe. But other than the red zone, I don't have a lot of faith in this. But because you don't have those skills, again, this is where you need to run the ball and impose your will against the other team. What do you guys think?
You want to go ahead, dude.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, we're making the argument that they needed a do-over on the whole offseason, basically, right? We both love J.K. Dobbins. I thought he was the best running back in the draft, but you had the best running team in NFL history last year. So why are you drafting a running back in the second round? The problem is, their best shot is probably at this point, since the trade deadline has passed, go back and just run as much as you can. I think for me, I don't think that's a way you can win in the playoffs, though. And I think, unfortunately, this is just going to be a little bit of a wasted season in Baltimore. They needed to address the O-line more than they did. They needed to address wide receiver, and they just decided not to. So, they're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to have to go through Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, at least one of them, if they want to get where they're going. And I'm not sure that this team can beat them right now.
Yeah.
Jose?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with everything B is saying. I mean, we needed to change our philosophy a little bit. I mean, we had a great thing last year, but we knew at some point teams are going to focus in on stopping the run, and you're going to force Lamar to throw the ball more. And he's capable of doing it, but like any quarterback, you want to get him some weapons. We like Hollywood for the long term. We think he's going to be a fine wide receiver, but right now he's not there yet. He's still developing, and you need a more proven wide receiver. This offseason, there are plenty of wide receivers we could have gotten. I mean, we're talking about Hopkins, Diggs. There's rumors that Al Robinson might have been available for a little bit. Julio Jones was reported to be available. They asked about Adam Thielen. I don't know what the Vikings were asking for, but it wasn't enough for them. But there were plenty of opportunities to get wide receivers. I mean, Robbie Anderson was just available in free agency, and we didn't sign him, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that would have helped us, but we didn't do any of that stuff. So, now we're stuck at just having to run the ball again on an O-line that's not as strong as it was last year. I mean, it's easier to run the ball forward, or to get a push moving forward, but lesser talent, it's not going to be as effective.
Well, and the thing is, you get to the playoffs, and let's say you have to go to Kansas City, and you want to run the ball, and you look up, and it's end of the first quarter, you're down 14. Are you coming back running the ball?
Right,
I mean, probably not.
And they showed you last playoffs that the minute they get down the playoffs, they want to throw the ball. They didn't have the personnel to do it, which is why I thought this offseason they're going to spend some money or picks on getting a wide receiver. I know they got Duvernay and Prochet, but I wanted to see them do that in the first round.
I actually disagree that they move away from the running attack in that playoff game too quickly. Let me get some of the super chats here. The Trip says, I agree, Jose. Roman is a good OC, but he lacks the creativity with the passing game and strange. We don't have the talent outside, but we got shifty dudes. Why don't we run Shanahan's high play in the air?
Look, I agree. I agree 100%. So we have guys that we can use, right? Like we can use Duvernay, right? We can use Hollywood, but the problem is Greg Roman is not creative. Like since Greg Roman's been here, we haven't been able to throw screen passes. I mean, really, when Morningwig was here, we couldn't do it either. But we look uncomfortable anytime that ball's in the air, whether it's a screen pass, a short pass, anything. It looks like if we get any yards or we make a big play, it's by accident. It's not schemed.
Okay. The Trip again here says, shout out to you, man. Thank you. Ed addressed it, but D is where we went special. I do think Greg. So my problem with, and I'm gonna say this again, my problem is the skill positions that they brought is smaller receivers that are fast, and that is fine if you had a great O-line. I knew the O-line was not going to be great this year. O-line, let's be honest, O-line around the league is not great. We had two really good outside tackles, right? Orlando Brown and Stanley. Skura's trash right now. I would have benched him. And put Macari for all his worth, right? Bozeman played well last year, so you brought him in. You weren't going to replace it. And then you figure one of these dudes were going to be decent. But even if he was decent, I will argue the O-line last year wasn't great because I think Bozeman was okay and Macari was okay and Skura was playing great, but he's coming from an injury. So the difference is you mask that with what? With running the ball. And when you run the ball so effective, teams don't rush your pass, especially with Lamar, because if you rush Lamar with your outside backers, Lamar's gonna step up You run. I always say this too. Lamar looks timid, in my opinion, running the ball this year. I need him, in my opinion, need to be more decisive. If nobody's open and there's green in front of you, go. In the last couple of games, it looks like he's starting to look to do that. But in early in the year, what he was doing was escaping out of the pocket and then looking for somebody to get open. And these guys weren't getting open because, to be honest, our receivers ain't physical either, right? So if they're pressed them in the line of scrimmage, they can do Renee, Hollywood, doesn't matter. They can break that route. Before you guys comment, Jay Brunson, thank you for the donation, says maybe if the Ravens had a quarterback and not a glorified running back, they will win. Look, this is gonna be my take here. Lamar is a special.
I guess 14-2 isn't wins. Like,
Yeah. Look, I think Lamar is a special football talent.
Yes.
The dude is an elite runner and a good passer. He's not an elite passer. I will lie to you if I tell you he's an elite passer. But because he's special on the running attack and he's a good passer, he can create damage. Because you cannot say, I'm not going to be worried about the running attack. So now you have to overcompensate for the running attack. And that's because he's a good passer. He can make the throws. My argument is this year, he has not been able to make some of the throws that he was making last year. And I agree with the receivers. Again, I'm giving you guys that. But still, there's been opportunity there sometimes, and Lamar has not been able to make the throw. Like yesterday, or I'm sorry, not yesterday, Sunday. The touchdown, there wasn't a touchdown on Hollywood Brown. That was a bad throw. That was a bad throw. Hollywood was open. And then he compensated with a great throw, which was a harder throw. The touchdown pass to Hollywood was a harder throw. He threaded the needle on a moving, which I hate, by the way. I hate the moving pocket. I hate when every time I see the moving pocket, I'm like, oh, shit, this is not going to work. But it worked. It was a touchdown. But Lamar, I feel like he is, I don't know. I feel like he is just a little bit off his game from last year. And that just a little bit off has been enough to create turnovers and to create incompletions. Go ahead, B.
Well, the thing about him, missing opportunities, right? Missing throws. One, I don't think that Hollywood pass was a bad throw. I mean, it should have been a touchdown, but this is kind of where I'm going with it. A better receiver makes that catch, right? And gets his foot down, and that's a touchdown.
I agree.
Every quarterback in the league, everyone, Pat Mahomes, all the way on down to, Haskins or whoever you want to put, like Kyle Allen or whoever it is. It's one of Washington's quarterbacks in the last. But every quarterback in the league misses throws. Everyone misses plays. The difference is most teams have playmakers on their offense where they can make up for it. In Baltimore, if you have Hollywood open downfield one play and you miss it, that's it. There's no other opportunity to get that play. When Pat Mahomes, when he throws would-be interceptions, right? Like when they played the Raiders, I believe it was a few weeks ago. I mean, he looked bad, right? And he was throwing passes that should have been intercepted. They get dropped, and then they go right back downfield to Tyreek, right? The same thing happened when they played the Patriots. He made a bunch of bad throws in that game, but they have a ton of weapons, and so they just go right back to it the next play, and they make that play. So every quarterback in the league is going to miss opportunities. Every offense in the league is going to miss opportunities. And what you have to do is you add talent to create more opportunities because you're not going to be perfect.
Yeah. And good quarterbacks early in their career, except maybe Pat Mahomes, every quarterback is going to have their struggles, right? You get better with more reps. You don't say, okay, you made a bad throw here. Let's abandon the pass game and run more. Like, he needs more reps throwing the ball. You get better with more passing plays, not less. I understand, MVP last year, you want to kind of keep that momentum going. So you're trying to do what works, but you got to let him grow as a passer as well. That's going to make him even more dangerous down the line.
Yeah, so I actually think that's one of the things they have been trying to do, let him grow as a passer this year. Yeah. And it could be because, again, the O-line. I keep saying the O-line is not good, and it's really not going to be good moving forward. But again, I would say O-line throughout the league is not great. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, this is a catch-22 because when we throw the ball more, the Baltimore throws the ball more. Us as fans, including myself, say, why are you throwing the ball more? You need to run the ball. And the problem is you're in between these two stages. You can let Lamar develop more as a passer and take the growing pains that comes with that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the normal progression. Or you can say, well, Lamar, I'm not going to allow you to develop as much of a passer because W's are the most important thing for me. And you can say, and the only way I can almost certain guarantee a W is I'm going to run the ball more, and then I'm going to take my shots because the receivers are going to create mismatch because the defense are just looking at the running side, right? So you're right. If you want to develop Lamar more as a passer, not all you have to do, but what you have to do is just, well, let's up the throwing to 25 to 30 balls a game, right? And in a normal game, not only when you're going down by a lot, because when we're down by a lot, he throws the ball a lot. But I'm saying in a normal game, 25 to 30 to 32 balls, which is an average for a passing team, right? Mm. And that is what you do to him develop his passing abilities, right? More repetitions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that also will take your ability to win down because as he's developing, there's growing pains with that. Yeah. And I don't think this team right now is ready for growing pains. So you as a franchise are in this right now, maybe because we peaked earlier than we thought last year. I don't think nobody thought that this team last year was a 14-2. I predicted 12-4, and people were laughing, or 11-5. People were laughing at me, and nobody predicted a 14-2 season with an MVP year, right? So because we did that last year, you cannot, in my opinion, say, okay, well, this year we're gonna let him develop as a passer. Especially with the O-line that it took down. Again, a Hall of Famer left the team. So it felt like you're trying to force something that in the long term will be good, but right now it's not good. It's essentially the same thing that Dobbins. Dobbins was a great draft pick for next year. I said that during the draft. Next year, when Ingram doesn't come back, that was a great pick. This year, having Ingram, this is why before Ingram was injured, you barely saw Dobbins because you had two guys that were in front of him. Why? Why draft him? So that's essentially what Lamar. Do you take the growing pains now with meaning that you might lose games, or you say let's win at all costs, F the rest? And before you guys answer, let me go to the super chat here real quick. Thank you everybody that is joining the live stream. Make sure you hit that like button, and thank you for everybody that's doing the super chat. The Trip says Andrews is the guy who can make great plays. He gets double, and he also has weird drop games. Yes, I agree, Sonny. They are trying to force pocket Lamar. Let me here's another one. I say we start Goat Mix. He's a more plus. He's a me. Win-win situation. Trade Lamar for a second. You made me laugh with that one. I would say that, Mr. Chris. And Jace, thank you for the donation. He agrees with Mr. Green. Look, I like McSorley as a backup. He can stay as a backup. I thought that they were going to cut RG3 this year because I thought McSorley for a backup was good enough because neither RG3 or McSorley will win you any more games than one or the other. When Lamar leaves, he gets injured, you're going to lose most of your games. Cut RG3, save that money, use it to invest in a player that might be impactful. That's what I thought we were going to do this year, but they didn't do that. Anyway, your guys' thoughts?
To your point about them trying to force Lamar and, have him develop and all that. Yeah, that they do need to do that, right? It's a passing league. You have to put up points if you want to win. But this is why I kind of said I felt like it was a wasted season for Baltimore because you only did that halfway, right? You're just saying, hey, we kind of want you to throw more. Here's no wide receivers and no O-line. Go have fun, right? Yeah. Whereas if you address the O-line and address wide receiver, he throws the ball. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have his growing pains for sure. I mean, every player does, right? But he is one of the top quarterbacks in the league right now. Regardless of how long he's been in the league, growing pains, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. So you support him on offense, and you will be winning games. But if you say, hey, I know you're still developing, your O-line gets worse, we don't improve your weapons at all, and you're just going to throw it more. I mean, this is kind of the result that you're seeing. And it's still, Baltimore is one of the better teams in the league. They can beat every team that they're, most of the teams in the league. Yeah. But when they play, Kansas City, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, like top teams, that's where you see the kind of talent deficiencies. So they're still a really good team. Obviously, they have a high-level defense, and Lamar's an elite player. So they're going to be in those games. They're going to have chances. But they're just, right now, their roster doesn't quite measure up to those other guys.
Yeah, even when we play those teams, like you talked about Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, we are good enough right now to beat them. But that's where the other problem comes in, and that's the coaching, right? I just don't think we come into these games with good game plans. So we're past the trade deadline. We're not going to add any more to the offense. So we have to use what we have, right? So, yes, I agree with Sonny. We're at the point where we need to run the ball more, get back to what we did last year.
Yeah.
Right. As far as the passing.
And it has to be J.K. Dobbins, by the way. Sorry.
Yes, with J.K. Dobbins. Absolutely. But, screens to the, some jailbreaks, things like that, that will help. And, that'll help Lamar get into rhythm passing, some more, short passes. And then, every now and then play action, take a shot down the field. Those are the things that can help him get into rhythm right now and get more comfortable with the pass game and help the O-line with the blocking, right? Do more play actions like that. But Greg Roman he can't do it. I think that those are the deficiencies with him as an offensive coordinator. So.
I will say something here. The Trip says, True Brodney, people are acting like this. I agree. I will say I agree with that sentiment. My guys were 5-2.
Yeah,
we do. We are acting.
We have
like
higher expectations than other teams, right? So
we're being very critical, but I mean they're
5-2.
Like what, the third or fourth best team in the league at worst.
Yeah.
The only problem right now is that Steelers loss basically took your division hopes away. Because Steelers look, let's hold on. This is what I'm gonna say. Let me Google this before Steelers right now, they go Cowboys, Bengals, Jaguars before they meet us, right? And then they go Washington. Yeah, and then they meet us, right? So even if we win, we're still one game behind. And then they go Washington. And then they had the Bills in Buffalo. Bills are an up and down team.
Yeah.
And they finished Bengals, Colts, and Browns. They destroyed the Browns. They haven't played the Bengals, so they need twice to the Bengals. And they had the Colts. All these games are winnable for them. Their toughest game is the Ravens again and Buffalo. So the division is looking sketchy. That loss hurts because right now the division basically you're playing for seeding and a wild card position based on the record. Now, can things change? Of course, somebody can get injured. Look at the Ravens right now. Before this game, other than the cornerback position, we were fairly healthy. We come out of this game. Marlon's not playing, so even super thin on corners. We lost our left tackle, so now our right tackle is our left tackle. We don't have a backup tackle. We lost our right guard. We have a plethora of guards, so I don't think that's going to be that hard to replace, to be honest. But we still lost a guard. So injuries happen, so that obviously can change. But right now, the division looks Steelers to lose.
Yeah, no, it is. Pittsburgh and Baltimore both have really easy schedules for the rest of the season. But I mean, if Baltimore beats them in their next game, I think that they're pretty likely to drop a couple of those other games. I don't think that they're a good enough team to really run the table outside of Baltimore. You know what I mean? I could see them losing to Buffalo. I could see them splitting with Cincinnati or losing one to Cincinnati. I don't think Cleveland has a shot, but I mean somewhere in there.
I agree.
Find a couple losses.
The big thing with the Steelers is they need to get, in my opinion, that number one seed. There's only one seed, and if I understood it correctly, now they're thinking about going to 8 teams, so there might be 2 buys. We'll see, because the NFL is playing right now. We don't know what they're going to do. But the Steelers, their bye week was week 4. Okay, and that is tough. So after that, going straight all the way to the Super Bowl, which is what the Steelers think,
And Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he's already rubbing his elbow, right?
Yeah.
He's already got the soreness flaring up in his elbow.
Even if the Steelers win, even if they went out and the only game that they lose is against Baltimore, and the next game that they lose is against Baltimore, the Ravens need to basically not lose any more games, because you put pressure in them, and that means that they have to basically win out to win the division. Because if we beat them and they happen to lose to a Cincinnati, now we're tied, but they have 2 losses in conference, so we take that tiebreaker. That's right. So it's for us, is if any hope of the division, you have to win on Thanksgiving Day. By the way, it's gonna be horrible for me because it's a 1 a.m. game here. But I'm watching that shit. I'm watching that thing. I'm not gonna miss that game. But yeah, so the Ravens need to keep pressure on the Steelers. And look, this game against the Colts is mega important because we're gonna be thin. It's gonna be an ugly game. Maybe we need to run the ball. We need to control, and then we need to force Phillip Rivers to make the turnover that he likes to make, because he sometimes forgets who he's playing for, and he likes to throw that pick.
Well, I mean, he just likes to keep it exciting all the way through. I mean, the fans pay, they pay to see a game, right? They pay to see 4 quarters. So.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go here with the super chat real quick. Jay Will says, I think people are expecting too much from Lamar too early. People forget he's still only 23 years old. It's rookie older. Oh, there's rookie older than him. Yeah, Burrow's older than him. People expecting no growing pains. It's stupid. He's still learning. I don't disagree, but you also are mentioning him in the MVP scale.
Yeah, he set the ball high. So I mean,
if he was not coming from an MVP year, we were not being so critical of him. He set up the bar. So now, even think about this. Patrick Mahomes last year, during the regular season, he didn't have the regular season of the year before. No. And people were criticizing him. Like, maybe Patrick Mahomes is losing a step, blah, 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 because he was coming from an MVP year.
Yeah.
When you come in for an MVP year, people are going to judge you accordingly. And I think that's fair. For me, again, my biggest problem with Lamar is accuracy. Accuracy in decision-making, because one thing, even when last year people were like, well, he's not super accurate, which, whatever. I think he was more accurate than people give him credit for. There was one thing that you never talk about Lamar was decision-making. He took care of the ball in the passing game. He will fumble, but in the passing game, he will take care of it. The fumble he has clean.
Yeah.
The interceptions worry me. He needs to go back to taking care of that ball, because interceptions kill you. Think about it. Think about this. If he had the same game from the Steelers' perspective, bad game, very erratic, not take 3 incompletions more, but you take all the interceptions away, this is not even a game. We beat them solidly. So not taking care of the ball is critical for him to go back to. The accuracy thing, I think, is something that he needs to keep working on, but the turnovers thing is something that cannot happen. He needs to take care of the ball. He needs to not throw, because I don't know about you guys, the Bengals game, we blow them out. But if Cincinnati catches those interceptions that should have been interceptions, we had a tight game. So this is now 3 weeks that he's been not only not accurate, not taking care of the ball in the passing game.
Yeah, I think that a good part of that is him trying to do too much. The offense hasn't been clicking at any point this year, and he's getting criticized a lot. And I think he's just trying to make stuff happen, and he's making bad decisions because he's trying to force things. He wants to make plays, and he's not just kind of sitting back and just taking what's there, right? Because I mean, you can do that all game long, but you want to get chunk yards, right? You want to get big plays, you want to score points, and it just takes a lot of discipline to do that, over a long period. And yeah, I think that's one place where he's kind of showing his youth. And like you said, he needs to kind of calm down and take care of the ball a bit better than he has been.
Yeah, and this is a perfect time for Greg Roman to just say, okay, look, we're going to scale things back a little bit. We're not going to try to make it too complicated. We're going to go back to a strong run game like we had last year, and like B said, take what the defense gives you. We have a soft schedule coming up outside of the Steelers and the Titans. That schedule lightens up so we can get a lot of things right. We can figure out, what's working for us, what's not working for us before the playoffs comes. So yeah, it's definitely not doom and gloom. Like we're going to have a good season.
I agree. Look, let's finish with this. The Hollywood Brown comment. This is one thing that I said in the offseason. It's going to be hard to bring any decent receiver here because the receivers are going to look at it like, well, this is a run first team, which we are, and I'm not no blocker. Hollywood Brown is low-key an introvert. He is not somebody that will run his mouth out. This is like if he was his cousin, a reason why he didn't want his cousin, he would have been bitching about this a long time ago. But Hollywood Brown's not that guy. You need guys here, basically. They're willing to do the dirty work and forget about the stats. And that's going to be hard for a receiver because the reality is I understand why Hollywood Brown is bitching. He's in his second year. Give him 2 more years of this, basically low production. And when he's out there looking for a contract, he's going to be like, well, shit, my resume is pretty much empty. So I understand why he is complaining. The reality is what we need him to do is, he ain't going to block. But what we need him to do is go blow the top off, get the safety honest, so the running game can be productive.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about receivers that we can bring in? Before you guys answer, let me see. William Triggerfinger Rufo says Lamar has a first-rate legs, second-rate football IQ, third-rate arm. I disagree with the arm. I will keep saying this. I disagree with the arm. The dude has. I've seen Lamar flicker the ball and go down the field. Accuracy needs to get better, and again, decision making. That's something new.
What do you consider good accuracy? I mean, he threw for I think 66% last year. I think it's a little bit lower this year.
Yeah. No. But what I'm saying with Lamar is, for all the things that we hate on the receivers do bail him out. He does like to throw low. I don't know why. For some reason, he likes to throw low. Think about how many the receivers sometimes need to just slide to get the ball. Not because it was a tight window and he had to dive. We're talking about a crosser route that for no reason, instead of throwing into strides, he goes and throws it low and the receiver has to dive. Or the receiver sometimes is open and needs to dive to get that ball. Those don't show in the stat. Right, and the stats shows a completion. I'm just saying that Lamar likes to throw behind and low.
Yeah.
He needs to fix that because the behind, any out route that he throws behind becomes an interception, and it has become an interception. It happened in the playoffs against the Titans. Again, last week it should have been an interception, and every time there's an out route and he decides to throw behind, that's an interception because the corner is trailing the guy behind. So that's what I mean about inaccuracy, because every time I bring it up, people are like, oh, but look at this percentage. And yes, he does. The receivers sometimes bail him out. Now, I won't say that he has a trash arm, like some people will say. I don't even think he is a inaccurate quarterback. He just sometimes throws inaccurately. And this year specifically, he has thrown more than last year. And then the last one before you guys answer here is the trip says, unmatched leg, first-rate arm, and second-rate IQ. Okay. You guys, what do you guys think about the receiver?
Well, in terms of like the inaccuracies, like yes, he definitely makes some bad passes, but like B said earlier, every quarterback does. The difference is with the top quarterbacks, they usually have top wide receivers, 1 or 2 wide receivers, that can bail them out to make them look good. So I'm pretty sure if you go through Pat Mahomes tapes, you're gonna see the same type of throws, but his receivers are going to come down with the ball. They're going to make the adjustments, right? Especially Travis Kelce. But our wide receivers, we're relying on first and second year wide receivers. That's our first problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? They just don't know how to make those adjustments yet. So that's why we wanted them to bring in somebody like a Julio Jones, like a DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, think about it. Hopkins can play with any quarterback, right? He's played with terrible quarterbacks, great quarterbacks. It doesn't matter. He still puts up the same type of numbers. So getting somebody like Hopkins would have been perfect for this offense, but it's another missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think with the Hopkins, before B gets here, the Raiders try. The rumor is the Texans said, I'm not trading them to no AFC team. I'm only trading to the NFC. And there you go. He's not a Raider. But go ahead, B.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. My thing with Baltimore is they've always tried on offense and they always get it done on defense. You don't hear, oh, man, we tried to get Yannick. It's they got him, right? You don't try to get Marcus Peters, you got him. But that's neither here nor there. In terms of the receivers moving forward, I think next year's class is supposed to be pretty deep. But I do think, again, this as my perspective as a Panthers fan, they should be looking at Curtis Samuel in free agency if he doesn't get extended. Carolina's currently not talking about a contract extension with him. But he's a very, very reliable third down receiver. He's a great route runner, super explosive. He can play all over the formation. He played a lot of running back in college. Mm-hmm. So I think he'd be a great addition for Baltimore. But other than that, I'm not sure who else is going to be a free agent following this season.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I know, look, the Falcons have already put out there that Julio Jones, is available. We didn't get it done right now, but maybe that's something we could look at in the offseason. I'm a big fan of Julio Jones. I know some people think, he's a little bit older and he's a little injury prone, but just look at his numbers, man. Like, it holds up.
The problem with Julio is contract. And if the cap really goes down, how people are saying it's going to go down, it's not going to be able to happen in Baltimore. Now, I'm going to hear and disagree with B. I don't think Samuel's a good fit here. Samuel is what Dumerville can be. What I want is a big-time receiver. And when I say big-time receiver, I need a big body, 50-50 catch guy. Because right now, when we go to the red zone, we have Andrews, Boykins, and then Hollywood Brown, Duvernay, Snead. They're smaller type of receivers. Yes, they might be able to get free in here with the right scheme and the right route and a good pick play. But we don't have that guy that we can isolate over there and say that he can just make the catch, right? How many times do you saw Brady with Gronk, for example, or other receiver with DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones for that matter? They go isolated over there. Everybody knows, first of all, they're just going to throw it there high, and they're going to make the receiver catch the ball. And we don't have that. Yeah. That's the receiver we're missing, in my opinion.
If that's the kind of receiver that you really want to target, then, you just got to call up L.A. and try and get Mike Williams.
Yes, and I said that for the trading deadline.
Yeah.
If you want a big-time wide receiver, you got to pay big-time money. Like, if you want talent, it costs money, right?
Yeah.
And my thing is, if it's an issue where you're going to get the money, figure it out. If you got to take from the defense, you got to take from the defense. But Lamar needs to be the number one priority, making sure you're protecting him and you're getting him weapons, right? Like, yes, we need talent, but if we're trying to get established talent, we got to pay a price for it.
I don't disagree. And as we're wrapping up, I actually think what you said is more important. Before receiver, we need to protect Lamar. That means O-line help, which is very expensive in the league.
Yes.
That's the first priority in this offense next year. Before receivers, I'll take crappy receivers with a hell of an O-line before I take great receivers with a bad O-line. Because if I have DeAndre Hopkins out there, but I had no time to throw to him, it's not going to work. So let's hit here some late super chat. Lamar accuracy issues are mainly decision-making issues. He's C-man throw right now. And that's maybe a lack of trust in play call or receivers. I don't disagree. Again, I think he has regressed a little bit this year, and that matter. Okay, hold on here. Joshua Hoffman, shout out to you. Thank you for joining the live stream. Ice and Fire. Flacco looked like he barely cared, but that made him clutch because he got up for playoffs and didn't get rattled. That's Ice. Lamar is always beasting, but his emotion boil over and he does rattle fire.
Flacco also had better talent. Anquan Bolden, Torrey Smith, Dennis Pitta, Ray Rice. He had a lot more talent around him.
Yeah, I've been saying this for 2 years. That Lamar needs his Q. Lamar needs his Anquan. I think you can say Torrey and Hollywood are essentially very similar how they play. Torrey's a little bit bigger. But they're similar type of receivers. Mandrews and Pitta. The guy that we're missing is that possession receiver. Snead ain't that guy. We need that Q guy, right? Flacco had it with Anquan. He had it with Hushman Sada for a little bit. He had it with Mason for the earlier part of his career. That possession receiver, that dog. right? And then at the end, even though a guy that is not big, my favorite receiver of all time, ex-Panther, Steve Smith, he wasn't big, but that dude played like he was 6'8", 280, solid, and he would eat you alive if you didn't let him.
Yeah, that's where the size isn't as important. I mean, it's nice to have that big body and be strong and everything. But hey, Devin Funchess, they were both at least 6'3", and exactly.
They're both soft.
It's the play style, right? And I agree. Lamar more than anything needs at least one guy on offense that he has absolute trust in, and they don't have that.
Yeah. Not yet. Last super chat here. Only if Flacco and Lamar could fuse. Lamar's great regular season. Flacco's great postseason. Hey, Flacco was great for us in the postseason, Flacco, but Lamar has way more potential than Flacco. You can argue that if Lamar had Joe Flacco's arm, then that would be unfair for this league. But still, Lamar is a great quarterback. I don't want you guys to think that I'm here bashing Lamar. Look, I'm rocking his jersey. Actually, this is the only quarterback jersey that I ever owned. I don't have a Flacco jersey. But I always criticize any player when they're not playing good. And Lamar, if you ask him right now, he'll tell you, I'm not playing great right now. I need to get better. And that's one of the things that I love about Lamar. He will recognize them. Flacco will never recognize when he was doing shitty things. He will always deflect. Lamar does, and I like that about him. Last but not least, William says, please, Anquan was old. Torrey was overrated. Pieta was always hurt. Talent, please. Look, again, I think they basically have similar talent, but Q was a beast.
Yeah, I think his last troll attempt was better.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for your live stream. Jose B, where they can find you.
All right, so we are the Lunch Break Hot Take. If you Google Lunch Break Hot Take and Google, we're gonna pop right up. Lunch Break Hot Take, LBHT Show. You can follow us Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at LBHT Show. Also, we have a website, lbhtshow.com. We do articles. We're on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. In fact, subscribe. Go to YouTube right now. Subscribe. We're trying to hit a goal of 100 subscribers by the end of the month. It's a nominal goal, but we're trying to reach that goal. So, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. We also do a podcast, Lunch Break Hot Take. We do NFL, NBA, UFC, boxing, all that good stuff. And if you're into video games, we have a podcast, Old Man Gamers. Again, look up Lunch Break Hot Take. It'll pop right up. Yeah. We're old. I'm sorry. We're old.
Hey, guys. Thank you for joining the live stream. Everybody, thank you. Go check my
We appreciate you, man. You've always supported us. We appreciate you. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
Man. All my love. Guys, go check their channel. Go sub. Look at that. Tough Puppies here says, I sub. Take care, my guys. Go check them out. Take care. I will see you next time. Go Ravens always. Check us Thursday, 5:45 p.m. Eastern, AFC North Talk. Gonna be a good one.